You know what time it is. It is playoffs time as the NECC rolls into the epilogue of the seasons. Regular season is over. Last week was the last week teams could try to lock in their spot, and now they're going to head to head against multiple other teams across multiple different divisions. And tonight we got Div 2 West playoffs, and I'm very, very excited to see how it goes down. My name is Orbital. With me is the best mean to ever escape the rift at this point. You have been running all over the place, RMC. How you doing here tonight?
I have actually been enjoying a tour on the Bridge of Progress, the new era map, so that's going to be kind of fun. We're checking out, but tonight it's all about Summoner's Rift, and Orbital, as you pointed out, we are in playoffs for the Div 2 West Division, and what I love about it as well is the fact that we've got West A and West B facing off. The top four teams from both of these divisions going head-to-head. It'll be first seed against fourth seed, second seed against third seed, so on and so forth. And between these two divisions, Orbital, West A had a very clear first and second seed before things started to get a little bit messy. But West B, theirs was a lot more complicated. They had a very clear first seed, and then second to fourth, all of them were actually tied 4-3 in series scores. So West B, a very competitive division coming through.
I know. Let's go ahead and start with the squad that was literally fighting within a game of either making second, third, or fourth. It is Drexel Dragons rolling out here, and they are coming in with Sarnakal, Lithuania, Casimir, Inori B, and Shin, a team that we saw all the way back in week number 2 of the NECC, facing off against the Slugs. The animals are ruling the rift here today. It's Dash Zero, we got Dunk Squad, we got Hog, we got Serpent Shadow, and Banana Nations. I mean, it's gonna be a pretty good time.
Yeah, I love the contrast in their mascots as well. Like, you know, you've got the fantastic dragons, you know. This side we've got the slugs, the UCSC slugs. Here's the thing, the mascots don't define the strength of your team, right? Mm-hmm. It is actually UCSC Slugs Black who are coming in as the first seed of Division 2 West A, whereas Drexel Dragons, as you mentioned, they were ±1 away from making second seed, but they are coming in as fourth seed now of Division 2 West B. And both these teams, we got to see Drexel on stream earlier this season. They are a team with a lot of talent. Their big problem has been trying to make everything click just right. When it clicks, they look utterly amazing. But if they don't, then they look individually good and struggle in the mid game. UCSC Slugs, on the other hand, has looked like a more complete team. They have carries potentially in every single role, and they've been able to step up when they needed it. Problem is, coming to the playoffs, they've had some roster changes coming through. Their mid laner, Taiwan Hog, kind of joined or starting for the roster midway through the regular season. And their jungler for tonight is not even part of their regular roster. Dunk Squad coming in. He is somebody who has experience with this roster, played with the main roster last year. But that was a year ago, Orbital, and so much has changed since then.
Yeah, that's the scary thing. I mean, they did also allude to the fact that maybe the sub in the jungle maybe not as harsh as it might seem. Dunk Squad, from what I talked to a couple of the managers and the captains, was a star carry in the past as well. But I like the fact that you pointed out we have so many changes moving into this 2024 season, and if you are not up to the task, I mean, the mechanics might be there, but do you know the champions? Do you know the style? Do you know how this team wants to play? And that is exactly what Drexel Dragons were saying. Hey, we're coming into this maybe rocking a 7 to 9 out of 10 confidence level into a match where you are, you know, maybe not exactly the favorite, but still willing to fight as hard as you can, because you're the Dragons. You want to burn everything to the ground and make your way into the upper bracket, be the winners at the end of the day. Now, to keep in mind, one of these teams is not going to be the only winners here tonight. We actually have a G Fuel giveaway here at NECC here tonight. 2 lucky winners will be walking away with some prizes coming out from this squad, from NECC. So make sure to be typing in chat. Keep eyes on that as we'll explain more along the way. But RMC, once again, we get to say our most favorite thing in the world, and Best is not available. There, I said it. I love it. I love saying that sentence with all my heart. And Best is not available here today.
You know, what's our favorite phrase? It will become our favorite phrase, I think. And Best as a champion feels completely busted. But yes, she is currently disabled for the playoff purposes, and that's fine. I mean, the teams have not been practicing her that much. They've been playing with a lot of other picks throughout this regular season, and we're talking about some interesting picks or high priority picks, Orbital. Yes, a patch has dropped last week. I don't think it changed too much, except for one pick in particular, and that is for Drexel Dragons mid laner, Casimir. His name is a portmanteau of Kassadin and Vladimir. His most played champion is Kale. by a long shot. She just got buffed a little bit with her attack speed. Her skilling went through the roof. And I'm expecting to see one of those three champions coming through. For the UCSC Slugs, though, their mid laner, Taiwan Hog, does play a ton of Vladimir as well. So that particular pick might become contested between both these mid lanes.
And to me, that means either we are snoozing or losing in the mid, losing out on either lives or snoozing while we watch the Farm Fest roll on. And that's actually going to draw my eyes to this bottom lane. Bottom lane, to me, bringing in some names that we have talked about many times before, and specifically one that even on the side of UCSC, they are slightly worried about, in Nori B coming in, having a very long history here in the collegiate scene, once again looking to try and put a staple in a playoff match.
And if anything, not just the collegiate scene, just Tier 3 North American League of Legends in general. Inoribi, highest ranked player within this particular game. I think he's currently sitting at Grandmasters, and he was Challengers just last split. Of course, this year with the three split system, pardon me, they are shortened splits. And Inoribi is a very fun player to watch as well. He's very aggressive in lane. Shin, his support, has been right there alongside him. Their Draven Zillion bot lane duos have been very, very fun to watch. A lot of kill threat coming through. And Inoribi has that pocket Yasuo he's willing to pull out as well. And whenever you do see that melee bot laner coming through, it changes the nature of the game. It gets much more explosive team fight wise because your pushing threat becomes a lot tougher without that range to try and take down those turrets.
And that, of course, leads into the fact that you only get one shot with those champions. That's hopefully what Serpent Shadow and Banana Nations are going to be aiming for. We've seen this Fearless Strat bring maybe not so much craziness in a best of three, but it really does hone in on the fact that if there is a composition that the opposing team likes to run, sometimes giving a game is not exactly the worst option in this scenario. You give over, that Draven, that Zillion, and you say, hey, we'll rock the Ezreal, we'll rock the Senna, or something else on the table. I mean, I know Senna has been rolling up lately in that bottom lane, being one of those nice little range supports out there. Please don't run the lethality as much as some people might say. It's still a healer at the end of the day after a lot of those changes.
And if anything, Serpent Shadow and Banana Nation, both these bot laners for UCSC Slugs Black, they have a very diverse champion pool. I believe both of them have only played one champion more than once so far in the regular season. And for Serpent Shadow, that's Neela, a champion who can be very lane dominant, who can go right up to the face of champions like Yasuo to kind of mess with them. And Banana Nation, his only champion he's played more than once this split has been Heimerdinger. Yes, it is a support. It's also something that we see in Arcane. I guess Banana Nation is a bit of an Arcane fan, and it works. It's very oppressive in lane if you can land all that poke.
Listen, if you're going to teach anyone, it better be from the support role. You got all the time. You're not really CSing. You're not worried about that. You're teaching them, say, hey, listen, there's a jungle, there's your enemy, there's the minions. You teach them along the way. But we are in a draft with Slugs on that blue side. You can already see that Ashe band away, which is understandably a very powerful ADC. But Drexel are like, yeah, we're not dealing with that today. Ban away the Vladimir.
Yeah, especially since Drexel is red side. It is a contested pick between the two, and we are still playing Fearless Ban. So once it's been played, it's off the table for both of these teams. Drexel don't want to take that away from themselves by giving it to the Slugs. The Caston coming through from the side of UCSC Slugs, and I wouldn't be surprised if their final ban ends up being something like that, Kale.
Oh, and it's so weird to hear that Kale going into that mid lane would be an actual threat. Normally, you actually see it on the top side of the map where it's a little bit longer, and granted, you have a little bit more time on that island. Being able to carry a mid also puts emphasis on the ultimate, being able to have that safety. And that's why we're seeing a lot of this other safety being taken away. The Ivern banned away, a very great enabling jungler in there. The Zillion also banned away. Sludge is not wanting to deal with that high prio. And now Drexel going to say, well, you've taken away a lot of our priorities. The unique factor is gone. What's left is meta. And do we want to go meta? Well, you just don't want the new KDA member to be rocking out as much now, so the Gragas is banned away.
Okay, so it feels like the Ivern pick, especially, that feels more like a meta takeaway in general. Ivern, a just very strong champion in the jungle. It facilitates a lot of compositions. You can check it mid as well. Slugs, honestly, with a kind of passive opening here, Cassante, a champion that can be blinded, can still be punished by range champions. We've seen the likes of Vayne, Twisted Fate in the top lane kind of answer the Cassante. Heck, we've seen even things like Kale try and free skill up against that as well. But generally speaking, against the melee units, it's perfectly fine. It scales really well as a strong front line as well for the likes of Serpent Shadow or Taiwan Hog.
See, the thing is, I'm very surprised because that actually leaves open the Skarner to go over to the red side. I've actually seen Skarner be on blue side more often than not whenever it's available, but Drexel Dragons going ahead and locking in a pretty skirmish-heavy composition here so far. 2 pieces of that 5 being the Skarner in the Udyr, and all of a sudden the Cassante may not be enjoying this lane matchup as much as previously thought, but you go ahead and throw in a little bit of a mixture, and that's a Gwen to come out here, RMC. This top side of the map is going to be wild.
And I'm trying to figure out what goes into the top here. Is it the Cassante or is it the Gwen right now? And where does the other one go? Are we going to see something in the mid lane, like a Cassante mid? I've seen certain players do that before. As Cinnamon Bread comes to mind, something that can just kind of sit in lane forever. I'm liking seeing this sort of confusing draft, a bit of a curveball coming through from the Slugs right now. And I'm curious to see how Drexel responds to this. The Cassante into Udyr is not that... It's kind of a handshake lane. The Gwen into an Udyr or into a Skarner, I think, would be a lot more complicated, but has the skilling advantage.
Well, the thing is now with the supports out, we are going to see those power hyper carries actually banned away. The Jinx, I mean, listen, Arcane boosted the play numbers and probably the win and loss rate, so you got to take that one away. You can't let that one through, especially with the Lulu on the other side of the field, but the Milio still leans into that factor as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see 4 ADCs actually banned out here. The Aphelios comes to mind a little bit. I mean, you see some other heavy hitters out there. Like, 4 ADC bans wouldn't be the worst thing in the world here.
Yeah, and again, I'm wondering if Slugs actually bans the kill, right? Because the mid laner for Drexel Dragons hasn't been locked in just yet, and it does feel like the kill could potentially benefit from Milio later on, and we've talked a lot about how Casimir is really good on that pick, or potentially if we see a Lucian ban, because Inori has a really strong Lucian, and Lucian Milio can be rather impressive. They've gone with the Kog'Maw. Now, that's not a champion that I associate that much with Inori, but it is a very strong pairing with the likes of Emilio when you've got the front line of the Udyr, of the Skarner already locked in.
Well, that's 5 ADCs out, so you got to rock with the melee AD instead. The Yone coming in that mid lane. At least that is my assumption here today. I can't really count that out, though. Drexel Dragons do have some little quirkiness in there, like to mix things up every so often, but this one's pretty much set in stone. There's a Xayah to come out here, and okay, everyone knows my gripes with Xayah every so often, and pair with the Lulu as well has me, my thinking cap's a little bit off.
Yeah, I don't hate it where it's coming in. Normally we see the Xayah, the Rakan, but Xayah is really good defensively when you're playing into a low range composition. And with the Yone, with the Udyr, with the Skarner, having that Featherstorm is critical to dodging out the Yone ultimate. Once they're in, the Featherstorm, the pullback, the callback can be a lot more effective in terms of dealing with them. Aurora being locked in for Slugs as their final pick. I'm going to assume that one's going into the mid lane, which means potentially Gwen jungle for Dunk Squad?
I could see it. I could see it. Now, here's the problem is you grab the Aurora. Slugs are like, we love our comp, and Drexel Dragons are like, we need another diver. Let's go ahead and lock in that Kai'Sa, which Kai'Sa, in this scenario, may not have as much frontline bruteness that we normally see paired. Kai'Sa usually seen with the likes of a Nautilus, you know, the Alistar, the Rel specifically, I think has been coming up in Prio, has been in Prio for ages now. And yet you pair it with the Milio saying we need some backline safety as well.
Agreed. I'm not completely sold on this idea of a Milio Kai'Sa combo. I don't feel like Milio adds that much into what Kai'Sa wants to do. We're looking for additional range. Kai'Sa's range comes more from her Void Seeker, the poke raining down from afar, and she wants to go in. Milio's not going to be able to follow up. Now, the Kai'Sa does pair well with the likes of the Udyr, Skarner, Yone, champions who all want to go in. But it also tends to get countered by Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa is the premier counter to Kai'Sa in general in a lot of these team fights. So for Inori to pick the Kai'Sa right now feels like he's saying, I'm going to win this so hard that I can just roll through the rest of the team fights. If not, it does get a little bit dicey for them. I am worried about how this Kai'Sa is going to play into the likes of a Xayah and a Lulu later on, where a Polymorph on the engage will completely stifle anything a Kai'Sa wants to do.
Imagine Inori just jumps in and Banana is just like, Pop, you've been visited by the magical fairy and you no longer get to play the game for about 2.5 seconds. Granted, that can be on Casimir as well. And for one of the few times in my casting career this year, or since Aurora has been around, we get to see Aurora in the mid lane. The original lane that I feel Aurora was supposed to be made, which normally we see on the top side, it is going to be playing mid against the Yone, and this is a matchup that will be a little bit of a tilter depending on one gets a lead over the other.
Fair enough. I think Aurora still does get a lot of gameplay in the mid lane, but in solo queue, a lot of people like to play her top because the range into melee matchup just feels a lot better in general. Shin and Banana kind of just trading blows a little bit, supports just trying to kind of get eyes on where anybody's going. Interestingly enough, neither of them actually dropped the ward. So it's just positional information at this moment. They don't know where the junglers are. And I think that's more detrimental to the Dragons. Because when's the last time you saw a Gwen jungle? Do you know her route? Do you know where she's going to be at any given time of the map?
Do I know? Absolutely not. Do I know what's going to happen? Maybe. We'll see what happens. I mean, we can see on the top side the Udyr's already getting a little bit of annoyance down there. You gotta love that burn factor that you can utilize to kind of push dash out of this lane situation. Of course, with both junglers starting on this bottom side, you can see the ADCs and the bot laners in general stepping up to the plate, kind of understanding that they're going to be alone for a little bit.
Yeah, and especially for Noribi and Shin, I think they're going to feel very comfortable about playing aggressively if they can find a way to be aggressive. Gwen is not known very much as an early ganker. Even with the Ghost, yes, she can be potent to run you down, but at the same time, she doesn't have a lot of CC to lock you down, and Lulu isn't the best setup for that either. The problem is, Noribi and Shin can't find the push on their own. Not into the Lulu, not into the Xayah, not early on, and we talked about this. The Milio Kai'Sa just don't have a ton of innate synergy.
And it's, I mean, we'll also have to see the longer this plays out if it will work. And maybe that is that situation of the Fearless where you're just trying to grab little pieces of that pie. You want the whole pie, but you aren't allowed it considering it is Fearless. So you got the next best option. I'm pretty sure 5 ADC bans also don't help out here. Right now, we are seeing Dash, though, get shoved under the tower a little bit and actually stifling the wave here, meaning Sarnicle is a little bit worried about if a gank is going to come down, which is why you see the ward dropped at 308, making sure that, hey, the route should be finished, getting close to finish for this Gwen.
Yeah, I like the idea of the freeze. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how well Dashio is going to be able to kind of hold it. Some of the minions already getting pulled. It's worth noting as well that on the current patch, Kasante's laning did get nerfed a little bit, so the laning should actually favor Udyr a little bit more. So props to Dash Zero right now for being able to have that much control to get that little bit of a CS advantage.
Just that, Dash Zero also realizing that they are a little bit blind and now going to pay the price. Lithuania now here trying to get the charge down. Dash Zero, great sidestep, is now going to eat a lot of extra damage, but you will stay with your life. Now a jump in from Dunk Squad himself, who realizes Dash Zero can't really step up and you don't want to take this challenge, so getting over the wall away from the river and getting back under tower.
Yeah, really impressed by how Dash Zero actually handled that entire duel. Worth noting is he didn't flash whatsoever. He just dodged out by stepping up, by making sure that Lithuania couldn't get the knock into the wall to get the stun going through, and recognize that I'm not going to die from this trade. I've got Grasp of the Undying. I still had some health pots. I'm good to go. I'm Kasante. I'll survive. And for Dunk Squad, him coming in, I think, actually baited Dash Zero to play a bit more aggressively. Unfortunately, with the Gwen, until I start seeing, you know, at least one item come through, I don't feel like the Gwen ganks are going to be that potent. None of the lanes have great setup for this champion. For the Slugs, really, they're playing to skill instead.
And I think that lends also to Dunk Squad themselves. We took a look inside of their champ pool, and I think they played a lot of just like hyper carries. I mean, one of the ones that I saw in solo queue was the Master Yi, which was probably one of the most enjoyable ones. Just like, listen, if you're gonna go for an opportune Genkius, that's what you're gonna do. You're actually gonna play more for, is it going to grant me some kills? Is it going to grant me some leverage? And maybe that's what they're honing in towards. It also gives reason why Serpent, Shadow, and Banana Nations are looking to invade right now, trying to force Lithuania out. Gets the root down. Dunk Squad is here to try and fight as well. Lithuania has to power their way out. Now Shin and Inori B are actually in a rough spot as well and can't actually contest back. So that will be a camp still in the way for Dunk Squad.
And all this coming off the pressure that Serpent, Shadow, and Banana Nations have just been putting down in this straight 2v2. We talk about how strong and aggressive Inori B and Shin can be, but it's stifled, and if that pressure point, if that strong point is not working, it's dangerous for the Dragons. Lithuania?
Oh, good smite. Good smite to at least keep the camp for themselves, but they're running low on HP.
It's fine. The other thing too they have to remember is that Dunk Squad can't just match across the mid lane. You've got to walk across the lane. Casimir and the minions will
Oh my god!
Vision.
By the way, that is the most baller thing I've seen in a while. Like, that wasn't even the safe route. That was straight through the lane.
Yeah, because Dunk Squad's just trying to cut as much jungle away as he can. Like, sure, Dunk Squad can't secure any of the Raptors, but he's going to be able to secure the Krugs, and Lithuania now will have to back off. It's a very, very minute win. It's one camp advantage, but you take what you can get, and more importantly, you're kind of cutting Drexel's map in half as well. Now, topside Sarnicle has to be careful. And Inori B.
Oh. Inori B actually has to burn the barrier, and Serpent Shadow is going to enjoy that one, but there was no mana, I believe, for the recall on the Feathers, so Serpent Shadow. I mean, if the Feathers came back, that was a 4 feather stack. That could have done some damage.
Yeah, heal had to be burnt from Shin as well, just to keep them alive. No ultimate from Milio for now. Topside, Sarnical goes back to base and uses the teleport to get back into lane. And because of this, the wave is shoved in. Nobody's checking in. Dunk Squad is getting a free start on these grubs.
And actually, that leans into the fact that Dash Zero, even though they were down in one of those earlier games from Lithuania, is actually up a relative amount of CS, which is why we're seeing this ballooning 800 gold lead for the Slugs, even though there hasn't been a kill on the board. Dunk Squad going ahead, getting 2 grubs and saying, that's all I really need at this point. But you are going to look to fight a little bit more. Hog is coming in here saying, I'm getting ready for a fight. Sarnical wisely backs up, so that will be the first major objective, going away as Slugs as a Dragon is traded on the other side.
Yeah, Lithuania, perfect timing as well. Went for the Dragon just as Dunk Squad was looking for those grubs. So we'll see the usual Dragon for grubs trade. Now, with the grubs, you do need to have a composition that's going to be able to take advantage of it. So either you need pressure in the lanes, and or champions are going to split push. Kasante's split push isn't the most amazing, so it's really about what you can find in the early phase of the game. And I'm looking at the bot side specifically to leverage this early grubs. Serpent Shadow and Banana Nation already took 1 plate on their own, and with the amount of pressure they've been putting down, I would expect them to continue pushing up as long as they don't get ganked by Lithuania.
For that, we'll have to keep eyes on those wards. They already have 1 pink ward that I think has stayed there since the first recall, so they're pretty happy about that stance. And now with level 6, it makes them even safer. And OIB going on a warding mission is going to lose that ward pretty dang quickly as well. So a little crying emote at the end of the day gets a little bit of a void seeker down, but other than that, we're still in that quiet gathering of power. You can even see Dash Zero having some time in the top side, drops a ward for the respawning red buff just to keep track of where Lithuania is.
A lot of the pacing of this early game has been defined by the Slugs. They didn't want to get aggressive. Oh, the bait call misses though.
That's going to be a problem. Serpent Shadow, though, realizing that this might be the dive, and in goes a little bit of the kill instinct. Banana Nation flashing around for safety, and that's going to be the impale, but it misses. Now flash forward from the Feather Recall. Flash out by Shin and Nori B, but guess what? Dunk Squad's here with those scissors. Steps away first blood, looking for another, but we're going to go straight to the top side because this is going to be the all-out. Sarnical is able to get the bash, but it doesn't stop the damage, and it's a double kill on the bot side for Dunk Squad, and Dash Zero wins one on the top side.
And we talk about how the Slugs dictated the early game time. They're dictating mid-game. Match onto Hog.
Oh, but Hog says, listen, it's between realms. You can't cash me, and Casimir gets to cry back into the Soul Form.
Ain't no Hog tie-in today, at least not at this part of the game. And Orbital, the early game, like we're saying, Slugs didn't want to make action happen. They were really good at making sure Lithuania couldn't find any action. Skarner early ganks can be pretty strong, but the moment they hit 6, they got some of those ultimates. Then they really started to turn the screws. Serpent Shadow and Banana Nation, perfect baiting. I love the timing on that Featherstorm, holding it for the critical ultimates and buying that space for Banana Nations because of the threat of that blade call. Inori B and Shin had to be careful how far they were going in, and Dunk Squad, even though he didn't get his first item on that gank necessarily, he got his ultimate, and that was enough to chase people down. 2 kills in pocket for one of the hardest scaling champions in this game.
I mean, it's so nice to see. And we mentioned kind of the weight that's on Dunk Squad's shoulders. You haven't played a competitive game, well, in our understanding, a competitive game in over a year. You're kind of being thrown back into the pits of a competitive scene to try and ensure that UCSC, the Slugs, are able to maintain a positional advantage in the playoffs, and you're doing pretty dang well for it. And now Hog is setting this up perfectly. Guess what? It's going to be a 2v3 center side. However, a pull under the tower means Dunk Squad isn't going to be able to get out. A second impale, though. I was just talking up. Lithuania shuts that right down.
Yeah, and that's why I can't count the Dragons out of it just yet. Lithuania has been struggling to find those early ganks, but found the critical one in the mid lane as well. We're just talking about how Dunk Squad didn't have the first completed item on that bot side gang. Now with the Nashor's Tooth, Nashor's Tooth isn't actually that big teamfight tool that you often see to come through from Gwen. That's more of the Rift Maker. The Nashor's Tooth is much more about 1v1 dueling.
Casimir also in this 2v2 dueling with the supports roaming towards that mid. But I do like the fact that you called it out, because now Lithuania trying to get a little bit more gold after that first kill is looking on Dash Zero on the top side. Remember, Dash Zero doesn't have the ultimate up just yet. I think it just came up. The all-out is ready to go, but you don't want to do this one out. Instead, you want to knock them back. You want to wait for the rest of the team. You draw Lithuania back in, and that might be the dive. That's going to be a huge wild growth to keep them all in line, and Dash gets his second.
Really well played from Dash Zero. Using that to kind of kidnap Lithuania, getting the revenge for Dunk Squad. Now, Serpent Shadow has the Feather Storm. There should be no kill threat here.
Well, it's enough damage, though, because now you're going to dive in. What? Inori B saying, let's go ahead and fight. That's going to be another tag on the DPS, but Shin tanking the tower. Up goes the Featherstorm. Recall isn't going to be able to root anyone. And it looks like there was a little bit of a kill there, but Serpent Shadow says not today.
Yeah, and that's why, despite how well Inori B and Shin played that, you shouldn't be able to kill Serpent Shadow on that particular play. The fact that Inori B got that much damage down and did... Okay. Wonderful observing from Observer Caddy tonight. Got baited me for a second. I was like, is that going to be the snipe? But Inori B and Shin played that really, really well. And the most important part was they dodged out most of the feathers and didn't actually get CC'd under turret range. So because of that, they don't lose too much. They don't burn any of the summoners to make that play happen. They force back Serpent Shadow and they'll be able to try and shove him that way.
But here's the problem, RMC. That would have been a kill if Shin were on an engaged champion, if that was a Nautilus, if that was anything else. I feel like that could have been a kill option, but it wasn't. And at this point, that's Drexel Dragons having to worry about that situation. Now Hog in the mid lane losing about 50% of HP, as Casimir is keeping up in the CS department, only down about one wave. However, that's a catch. Fate Seal might be enough. There's no way really back out, but you're going to teleport to the other side, and Hog's like, out? I have all the outs in the world, nay the realm.
Okay, he's not safe yet.
Oh, I talked too soon. Why did I do it, RMC? I did it again.
You know, because the play was good. I love how Talon Hog just played that so perfectly in between realms, maximizing the use of that dodge. So many times we see the ult being used and then people not quite being able to find the range, getting CC'd, and then it drops. It's a very short ultimate. But Hog did die. TP is up, but he's still down for 15 seconds.
I mean, this realm brings death all the way around. TP coming in behind, but Casimir doesn't have ult, and that means if you're not sure if you can fight this double impale, though, might bring the DPS, and the double knockup brings power, and Casimir gets the first kill. However, Dash Zero says, get your butt over here, and that leaves Banana Nations all alone. Drexel Dragons say this is an opportunity. They are 4 strong, but have a little bit of a pincer. Dachio still has to open up. Is going to slice right back in, tries to flash on top, but Shin is going to live. And because of that, that's a shutdown handed over to Inori Beef. That's going to be a huge smite to take the dragon away, but you'll pay with your lives. I don't know who really came out with the lead there because everyone got a piece of something.
Absolute mess coming through, and you can really see the priority of these teams. For the Slugs, they made the call, we want the dragon. They took Lithuania out of the fight. Again, really well played from Dash Zero. His all-outs have been absolutely on point in terms of removing critical targets. Without Lithuania, no smite for the Dragons, but the Dragons weren't playing for that. Shin gets sniped.
Oh, Hog wild moves down there.
Inori is so lucky that completed. Casimir might be in trouble, though. Redemption.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. One more auto ain't gonna take it. Casimir lives.
Oh, Hog did have the address, and there's no burn to come through. The Malignance was not enough, and Casimir has teleport, so for all they've invested, that isn't really going to mean anything. Casimir can just TP right back into it. He's actually TPing into the bot side, looking to try and find Hog.
Oh, and I don't think Hog knows this. So this could actually be a straight up 1v1, but Faith still misses this time, so I don't know if Casimir wants to follow through. Lithuania is like, don't worry, I got you. But again, the jump away, the slipperiness of an Aurora is just too powerful.
Now they might look for the dive down in the bot side as well. Impale is about to come up for Lithuania, and Casimir has a lot of damage in pocket. Blade of the Ring King, already completed. Slugs kind of just abandoning Hog on the bot side. They're gonna go for the Herald in the top lane instead. They got 6 grubs as well, so a lot of pushing power if they can get Herald.
And for me, that actually puts a lot of emphasis on Dash Zero, who honestly has been winning this top side. I mean, we get to look back up, and it's 3-1, 2-1 for Sarnical, which is so good. But already having the Spirit Visage means Dash Zero has that pushing power, and those 6 grubs are going to be excellent in their pocket. Granted, we're about 15.5 minutes into the game, meaning that the towers going down don't grant more plates, but it still grants first tower gold. So for the Shadow and Banana Nations in the mid lane, though, say maybe we want to push for our own as well, as Dunk Squad is just on the top side annoying this poor Udyr.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Sarnical, because the setup was on the bot side, because Lithuania was looking to help Casimir, he knew he was up a creep with no backup whatsoever. Hog?
I don't think Hog actually gets out of this. A dodge on the Q, though. Hog slipping away with a sliver of HP.
Hog just making a lie out of you, Orbital. Time after time, he keeps sneaking up with fractions of health there. But let's not forget that the situation is not beneficial for Hog. Look at what Casimir's doing, taking that bot side turret solo, Casimir is 2-0-4, and Yone is a champion that can absolutely swing team fights. Yeah, sure, Aurora scales incredibly well. Yeah, she does a lot of damage, but Yone is a champion who can absolutely flip games. And with this, turrets are 1-for-1. Slugs still have Herald in pocket, so I'm kind of waiting to see if they can crack the mid turret, with the Herald or not.
That depends on Dunk Squad going ahead and recalling, now finishing up the boots, grabbing a really freaking big wand here and just saying, let's go ahead and get that damage out of here. I mean, I'm excited to see what Dunk Squad is able to do in this kind of lapse of major global objective. -0 once again being almost granted a second tower. However, Lithuania and Casimir are going to try and run interference, but the tower still falls when -0 gets away for free.
Oh, super long lane as well, since the bot side outer turret for Slugs was already down. Interestingly enough, Casimir, though, not opting to continue the chase, and Lithuania was not by himself able to finish off a tank like that. Dunk Squad, though, here.
I mean, very nice dash out. Casimir burning that fate sealed, and again, with nothing crazy being up, you got time on that ultimate to come back up for the next fight. Oh, Dunk Squad. Dunk Squad's trying to get messy, and Casimir is about to punish. Good side step there as the scissors do snip away, but that Zero is going to step right in, deny any further damage, but that's still a good 66% taking out a Dunk Squad's HP bar.
Yeah, those first items are not equal. Serpent Shadow just eating a bit of poke on the back end of things. Banana Nation with the polymorph still losing a ton of health.
Okay, these teams don't want to stop fighting. Every time we take a little bit of a breather, there is a small skirmish on the other side of the map.
Yeah, and I actually really like what we're seeing. I mean, the attempted gank into the bot side from Dunk Squad and -0 was massive. The fact they burnt the Yone ultimate and didn't burn the Gwen ultimate should have swung things in their favor, but because the Dragons were willing to be aggressive, turn things around, and recognize that right now we are stronger in terms of being able to trade in short bursts, they were able to nullify the advantage that Dunk Squad got by burning that Yone ultimate, and things are pretty much reset. Casimir's ult is about 70% already back, and that should be up for the big fight. Dragon is coming up in 5 seconds. Dunk Squad gets caught.
I don't think Dunk Squad's going to be up for this objective, as you're roaming directly over a ward, so it's a slaughter of the substitute jungler.
That's really rough, and now even the mid lane Serpent Shadow and Banana Nation can't push out. You have to be careful not to get caught.
That's a good flash forward, and the impale onto the Lulu. I mean, it's just raw damage to come out here, and Nori be granted their second, and that should be Dragon as well.
Dragons get the second Drake for themselves of this game so far, with 2 perfect catches to come through. And for me, this is a little bit on UCSC. The Slugs just were, well, sluggish with their rotations, not really paying respect to what Dragons were looking to do. They didn't have the vision. They were a little bit overextended, and now their lead is going to be shrunk. They are still in control of the game. They still have Herald in pocket, but they need to make sure they're not getting caught on side lane split pushing.
At this point, honestly, that Herald looks way more like a detriment. The fact that you are most likely going to be relegated to just dropping it in a lane to get value out of it, that's going to hurt a little bit. Of course, at the current moment, Lithuania now doing what Dunk Squad was doing earlier, invading in, taking a couple camps away, and getting their CS numbers back up. They're now sitting on 69 seconds on the Heart Seal. Nice. And getting ready for their second full item, or at least some of the components behind. I would like to point out as well, with just a little bit of a fact, Dunk Squad has not been able to go back and buy an item for the last 3 minutes or so, or even a component.
I'm just curious what component that NECC Large Rod is going to become, and whether or not they need it right away. Herald being dropped in the mid lane, I do think was actually about to time out, as the turret will go down before Shell even gets there. They're charging in, but Dunk Squad is deep. We'll be able to get out safely.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about the kickback of that Herald. You do pop out relatively far away. So, you know, Dunk Squad got caught once and was like, never again. Never again.
I've seen way too many people get caught trying to jump out because there is still travel time. And if CC hits you in that travel time, it still messes you up pretty hard. Bot side dash zero with the split push. Trying to bait with Dunk Squad on the side.
Oh, but the bait might actually be turned on to the Slugs themselves. There's TP, and Dash Zero actually has to go in. Casimir is ready to go with that bait sealed and actually turns it on Dash Zero, but Dash Zero all out. And with a triple knockup, might do the damage. It feels like the Slugs have awoken. They are ready to battle, and it's roots all around. Bring out the DPS. Serpent Shadow throwing feathers like their life depends on it, because it does double knockback again. Dash Zero is the hero right now. Triple kill for Dunk Squad. Dunk one more shin. A lowly support here. Oh, no. You ain't getting away at all. That will be 4 dead for the Drexel Dragons.
And throughout that entire fight, Hog is on that top side, continuing to split push as well. So multiple turrets going to go down, both side lane inner turrets. That's a huge infusion of gold. We saw Dash Zero being the hero once again, TPing into the mid lane. I think they caught out Casimir.
A late ace coming out here, delayed even, as Slugs take 5 lives, 2 towers, and save their mid lane turret.
Gold Orbital was getting so close. Drexel, after that last series of catches, getting the dragon, they were within 2,000 gold difference. We just blew that to more than 7,000 gold in favor of the Slugs right now. If there was any doubt of whether they could win a team fight, there is none now. They have so much more gold on their side. Death cap completed for Dung Squad, just going for that hefty straight AP as well. This Gwen in that last fight was a menace, not because of their ability to team fight, but because of how segmented and split up that fight was. Now, Dung Squad's actually going to hit like a wrecking ball in a 5v5.
And I want to point out the true hero of that, because Dung Squad's name was on the screen, but the spotlight was on Dash. Wild growth on 3, being able to all out these 3 kills that were early on has led to a 10k bank account for themselves. They are level 14, being able to sustain through 3. Not just 3, a fed Casimir as well, 2-1 and 5 with a couple items in their belt. Dash is undoubtedly this champion, this first pick player that is like, let me do whatever I need to make us win this game.
I was just looking at the items as well for Dash Zero, right? You're talking about the 10k bank account, 4k advantage over Sarnical as well. You got a Thornmill, so lots of armor, physical damage ain't gonna phase you. You got Spirit Visage, you don't care about magic damage right now. You got Undying Radiance, like you're just gonna heal back up in the fight. How are you gonna take down Dash Zero? Even in all-out form, it didn't feel like Dash Zero was ever at risk of dying in that last fight.
I mean, that's a wild thing. So pretty much we were wondering about Dung Squad and Hog. How are they going to slot right in? Well, Dung Squad isn't paired with Hog. Hog is allowed to do whatever they want to, and instead it's a Dash Zero and Dung Squad running the show. Now with that power on the top side, you're able to push in the mid lane, and Slugs are going to use this double buffed up squad to pressure in yet another tower. Wave is a little bit off, but they might just take it out because Dragon is going to be up in about 50 seconds, and Slugs want a second for themselves as well.
Yeah, this is without minions as well. You can see how much damage reduction there is when you don't have minions to kind of cut through those turrets with you. And Dash Zero did not care. And even after that, they're rotating straight to Baron right now. For the Drexel Dragons, it's all in the dark. They will not spot out that it's being done, but they'll have the inkling. The problem is you're walking into the blind, get caught, and you're dead.
Sixth Sense is there, but you have the 7 to back away because this is dangerous. You have to have a perfect impale if you want to break this out. Casimir looking for that face seal to give me the opportunity. Only catches 1 though as Hog is out, and now it's the all out once again. Dash Zero though, maybe not as tanky this time around, but slices through Sarnical. Sarnical is down. Dash says I don't care. 3-man impale, but it's way too late as they break it apart, and the Slugs run rampant over the Dragons, and Shin is the only one to live.
And the impale was beautiful, but it was already too late. Your team was in shambles. The damage had come out. You didn't have the burst to follow up, and Lithuania is left up a creek with no paddle. The Slugs slowly suffocate the Dragons to death. That'll be Baron. Dragon is still on the field if the Slugs want it. I'm going to be honest, Orbital. I don't think these Chemtech Drakes matter whatsoever. I don't think we're going to see Soul.
No, it's Chemtech. Number one, if you're seeing Soul of a Chemtech and being like, that's going to be our game ender, you've already lost. I'm so sorry. Like, no, you should have another win con in there. But I really do want to see an Elder. I want to see this squad pop up with Elder, which is way too far in the future. If we ever get to Elder as well, like, please no. It is going to be an objective taken off the table, though, and that is what they're saying. Because take a look at the waves. They're not in perfect position. So go ahead, take the easy objective for now, still regroup, make sure Hog is ready to go with the rest of the squad, and now are looking to push, which could be the final nail in that coffin. Casimir, though, you don't want to get caught here. You don't have flash either. I think Casimir is actually just dead. There's no way your living Dung Squad is dominating now.
Yeah, with his ult on cooldown, Casimir's fate was sealed. You can see Banana Nation was willing to chase you down with the slows, with the speed ups. You're not getting away, and without the Yone, that's a big part of the team fighting for Drexel Dragons not available. They can't look to fight this 4v5, 4v4, much less a 4v5.
Yeah, this is going to be a Hail Mary. At the end of the day, Drexel Dragons are saying, are you going to push or are you going to wait? Slugs, once again, take a little bit of a slower approach. Make sure to take the 100% objectives here. They knock down 2 inhibitors in a very quick fashion and now have to go to the fight. Taiwan Hog though says, yo, let's battle now. That's gonna be Shin to try and burn that little bit of fire, but the fire is quickly sputtering now as the first Nexus tower goes down. In comes a little bit of battle. Serpent Shadow actually stepping up. Redemption to keep everyone topped up for the side of the Slugs. And the Slugs say, who cares? Casimir ready to go with the bait shield. If you're able to grab 3, it might be big. Impale only catches 1 though, and you hit with real no damage. In comes Sarnicle. The Featherstorm can't do anything, or actually does a lot. I like because Hog, he's on a killing spree. Slugs are slaughtering the Dragons. The Dragons have no more fire left in this game number 1 as the Slugs prove why they are the first seed and they will take game number 1.
Overall, think back to the initial draft. The first pick, Cassante. The second pick, Gwen. I had many questions, and UCSC had all the answers. Immaculately played from this top side of the map. But one person I want to talk about as well, who we didn't talk as much about, was Serpent Shadow. The Zaya, as you're saying, the Featherstorm, the Blade Calls. It didn't look that amazing because we didn't see kills going over to Serpent Shadow. It was a ton of assists. But that last fight, both Blade Calls were critically massive. Stopping the first one, rooting Casimir so he couldn't actually engage, put Lithuania and the rest of the Drexel Dragons in a very awkward position when they were trying to go out and engage, which never materialized. The second one as well, to lock everybody down, to actually finally get those kill secures rolling, that got them the game. And for the UCSC Slugs, when your AD carry can afford to take a backseat role and play perfect utility, that's scary. Carries in every role, threats from every direction.
I will always say I like being proven wrong on the desk. I want teams to show up and be able to say, hey, we can do whatever we need to win this game, and I feel like the Slugs did it. Granted, we knew they were strong. They only dropped 1 series, and we talked to them a little bit before. They said, hey, that 1 loss came as a surprise, but we took it as a lesson to maybe stop trolling as much. Their words, not mine, but it was a very large eye-opener, and we're seeing it here. They're dressed, they're not silly, they aren't trolling, they are here to win. We got 1 more game to go for the Slugs if they want to take the series 2-0 and move on in the playoffs, or maybe we see Drexel Dragons kick back and take us to a game 3. Please don't go anywhere. The NECC League of Legends matchup here tonight will continue in just a bit.
Oh man, this is incredible.
Oh, wow.
Huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Hey man, grab me a meat stick. I think I can reach it if I just a little more. Just let me go a little. I can't. Just a little more. I almost got it. Careful! Oh God! No. Come on, just reach. Reach. Just grab my hand. I can't hold it. Grab my hand.
Give me the meat stick. This other hand's closer. The one with the stick is. Oh.
What am I supposed to say?
It doesn't matter. He's dead. He ain't listening to you anyway.
I'm hungry.
No. Put it away. I can't watch it. Oh, crap. Just reach in. You gotta pull it. Just grab it. Just take it out of his hand. You just can't. What do you mean you can't?
He won't let go.
What do you mean he won't let go? He's dead.
Help me. Get in there.
No, just hold on.
Make him let go of it. No, I got you covered. Just go in for a hug. Go and get on in there. It's a bad loss. Yeah, hug him up. Just reach. Hug him up.
He's breathing.
On the other side.
Go.
I can't.
Just-
I can't do it.
Help me, Lord. Help me get over this loss.
I can't breathe.
Hey, I can't breathe. I'm so upset. I can't breathe. Stop. You knock on wood so they go to heaven. It's like a lucky.
Hey, get the stick. Yeah.
Hey, do you the meat stick?
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, just hold tight for a second. They're moving the casket. Just hold tight.
Yeah, it's no worries. I got it.
Oh, what an awesome day for a pump, dude.
Yeah, I gotta take it easy. Doc says if I exert myself, I will die.
You overexert yourself, you will die.
I'll tell you what, you finish the workout, all these could be yours. That looks good. A little bit of honey ham for the ham. Get after it, and that's your get after it, and that's your treat. Hey, do the exercise, do the work, then you get the reward. That's how this works, man. You gotta give it max effort, maximum effort. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Big hams. Make it work, those hams. Work 'em. Putting in the work. Yeah, baby. Yes. Dude, this is a spicy workout. Gotta make it worth it. Building the beef and bringing home the bacon, baby. I'm loving it. Teriyaki is just about within your reach. Come on, get you some. Come on. Ooh, ooh. Maximum effort. Maximum effort. You're there. You're almost there. What do you make of this up here? Just showed up in the yard a couple days
Has a
ago.
dog been digging in here?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
The hell with that.
Yeah, there's something in there.
Want one?
Thank you.
It was worth it.
Oh, man, this is incredible.
Wow.
Huh?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Hey, man, grab me a meat stick. I think I can reach it if I just a little more. Just let me go a little. I can't. Just a little more. I almost got it. Careful! Oh, God. No. Come on, just reach. Reach. Just grab my hand. I can't hold it. Grab my hand.
Give me the meat stick. This other hand's closer. The one with the stick is. Oh.
What am I supposed to say?
It doesn't matter. He's dead. He ain't listening to you anyway.
I'm hungry.
No. Put it away. I can't put it. Oh, crap. Just reach in. You gotta pull it. Just grab it. Just take it out of his hand. What do you mean you can't?
He won't let go.
What do you mean he won't let go? He's dead.
Help me. Get in there.
No, just hold on.
Make him let go of it. No, I got you covered. Just go in for a hug. Go and get on in there. It's a bad loss. Yeah, hug him up. Just reach. Hug him up.
He's breathing.
On the other side.
Go.
I can't.
Just-
I can't do it.
Help me, Lord. Help me get over this loss.
I can't breathe.
Hey, I can't breathe. I'm so upset. I can't breathe. Stop. You knock on wood so they go to heaven. It's like a lucky.
Get the stick.
Yeah,
Hey, did you get the meat stick?
yeah, I got it.
Hey, just hold tight for a second. They're moving the casket. Just hold tight.
Yeah, it's no worries. I got it.
Oh, what an awesome day for a pump, dude.
Yeah, I gotta take it easy. Doc says if I exert myself, I will die.
You overexert yourself, you will die.
I'll tell you what, you finish the workout, all these could be yours. That looks good. A little bit of honey ham for the ham. Get after it, and that's your, no, get after it, and that's your treat. Hey, do the exercise, do the work, then you get the reward. That's how this works, man. You gotta give it max effort, maximum effort. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Big hams. Make it work, those hams. Work 'em. Putting in the work. Yeah, baby. Yes. This is a spicy workout. Gotta make it worth it. Building the beef and bringing home the bacon, baby. I'm loving it. Teriyaki is just about within your reach. Come on, get you some. Come on. Ooh, ooh. Maximum effort. Maximum effort. You're there. You're almost there.
That's so worth it.
What do you make of this up here? Just showed up in the yard a couple days
Has a
ago.
dog been digging in here?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
The hell with that.
Yeah, there's something in there.
Well, then,
Thank you.
it was worth it.
I mean, they may be the slugs, but they move incredibly fast here. Game number 1, UCSC Black threw down the hammer, and the substitutes rolling in. Last year's star dunk squad, Dash Zero, may have helped out, but man, did that Gwen look nasty.
Yeah, more than a substitution, it almost felt like Dunk Squad is coming back to teach a class, right? Like, and this is how we do it. But what I love about that orbital is the fact that it wasn't just Dunk Squad coming in and like dunking on everybody by himself. It wasn't his mechanics, his former 2022 Grandmaster mechanics coming in and just carrying everything. No, the team really set him up for success. You were telling me during the break, that you were that you loved the fact the way it started. The early 2 kills from Dunk Squad, from the bot lane, from Serpent Shadow, from Banana Nation, the trap they set up, the bait that they kind of lured Inori B, Shin, and Lithuania into. That's not from Dunk Squad. That's the team supporting this sub coming in, and you love to see that for a team because it does mean that if there are any further roster swaps, it doesn't have to be Dunk Squad level of experience coming in. It could be anybody in the team would support them just as well.
I mean, that even throws into Hog, who's also stepped in midway through the season, and the Aurora maybe didn't have an explosive Aurora game that we always like to herald as the 250-year champion or whatever. Still very impactful. A lot of the getaways keeping themselves safe in situations where normally we're sitting there going, they should be dead. However, in that same vein, there was someone on the other side that felt like they were kind of caught in the crossfire. And Nori B, amazing player, one of Drexel Dragon's main players, and yet got stuck in a situation where we don't normally see a Kaisa with Emilio, not really the engaged support that we wanted to see.
And it felt really odd when we consider how the Drexel Dragons have played throughout most of the season. We mentioned before, their bot lane is one of their strongest points, especially in the early game, especially in the laning phase. I mean, Inori picks champions like Draven, Lucian. Yes, he picks the Kaisa quite frequently as well. Even his Yasuo, which is more of a mid-game teamfight champion, he plays very aggressively in lane. Now, the Kaisa can fit that profile, but paired with the Milio, it just didn't feel like that was the lane pressure they wanted to find. We didn't see the Milio have a lot of, unfortunately, effectiveness in the skirmishes and just kind of felt out of sync. So going to game 2, first of all, Milio, fearless, banned, can't be picked again. But I'd also love to see Nori B and Shin get a duo that's much more able to take control over the lane. I want to see a signature Draven. I want to see things like the Lucian come through for Nori B.
I'd almost sit there and say draft it in phase 1 if you want to, because you actually had a pretty stable mid lane. I think Casimir on this Yona, you and I were discussing, Even though the Yone wasn't able to really eclipse in that mid to late, laning phase was solid. You were able to land a lot of that damage. You were able to round out with the Fate Sealed. I mean, multiple times we saw narrow losses on damage, and even then we were like, it's fine. You're still getting that pressure.
Yeah, and in fact, when you're talking about Hog earlier, the fact that we weren't talking too much about Hog in game one, I think a lot of that is because of Casimir, because of his Yone, because the threat he was able to put down, he nullified a lot of what Aurora wanted to do in the 1v1. Now, off map, off screen, Hog was getting a ton of pressure in the split push. Anytime Casimir wasn't in the same lane as Hog, Hog was able to get pressure down. And I think that speaks very highly to what Casimir can do. Now, keep in mind, too, Casimir, we said, Cassin, Vladimir, Kale. Those are some of his top 3 champions we've been seeing a lot within the NECC. Yone is not even his top 3. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens if he gets his hands on one of his main carries. And going into game 2, side select does belong to Drexel Dragons. If they want blue side, I wouldn't be surprised if they open up the Vladimir and it has to be UCSC looking to ban the Vladimir, or Drexel get it on first rotation.
I mean, if that's the thought process, then maybe topside is thrown to a bit to the way, because Sarnical, a whole reason that game kind of got out of control is, I mean, Dash Zero was dancing up there in the 1v2 and the 2v3s, a powerful impact. But Sarnical on the Udyr, there's only so much you can do. In this game, too, it feels like Sarnical needs a little bit of a helping hand, whether that be with the champion selected, because you know the Kazante's out, which is fine. But I feel like Sarnical may need a little bit more help in that top lane if you want it to be a little bit more even, or, dare I say it, Sarnical winning the lane.
Yeah, and if we're looking at Sarnical's champ pool, he often goes with those beefier tanks in the top side. He's playing more for the team. Things like Mundo, Ornn, Set, that you could potentially pick up. If he's looking for lane dominance, if he needs to be able to go toe-to-toe against Dash Zero, he's looking at more maybe something like a Renekton, which is also Dash Zero's second most played champion, his most played being K'Sante. And now that K'Sante's off the board, maybe the Renekton becomes a very high prio pick between the two teams. If there is a Vlad ban, I expect it to facilitate a Renekton to come through from the side of Drexel Dragons. The other champion that Sarnical has been playing a lot of in the NECC to great success is Mordekaiser. It's almost the opposite of the Renekton. You're not playing for the lane, you're playing for the skilling to take a single target away. I don't think that'd be a great idea into Dash Zero, but at the same time, I could see it as being something to try and remove another carry away from the map. If you're saying that, hey, I might not win my lane, I want some sort of utility, and tanks aren't going to cut it.
Well, let's see what they do, because they took your advice, RMC. You said, hey, I know how this plays. I've seen it over and over and over again. Literally, my family's slaughtered by some of these players, you know? It's like, it's what happens. But Drexel Dragons keeping the Ivern out of the hands of Slugs. You and I were discussing, again, that Ivern is one of the premier junglers. I liked the starter before, but the Ivern just cannot be played right now.
Yeah, Ivern is just too versatile, and especially for a team like the Slugs, where they've got carries in every single lane. If Dunk Squad doesn't want to carry and he wants to kind of support somebody else to step up, Ivern is the premier champion to do that. Slugs, keeping with their ban list for now. They've taken the Ashe away, and just a reminder of what the bans were. Ooh, for Drexel, it was Gragas and Vladimir. So already they've changed something up. One of those has to go through most likely Vladimir. And the Slugs banned Ashe, Kassadin, and Zillion. I don't expect to see those being changed up.
Well, yeah, that is going to be that Kassadin, but you said it yourself. If they do follow through, if Slugs stay with the same 3 bans, they do have to have an answer for that Vladimir, which I do assume they do. That's the thing. Anytime any of these, like, premier picks for a player, one of those, I wouldn't say unique, because Vladimirs can still be very strong, I do expect there to be some power. However, target focus in the top side, we just mentioned this. Sarnical needs some sort of help from the team, and they have adopted the idea of double banning early on in the draft, which leads me to believe there is going to be a high prio in mid and top.
Renekton.
Zillion still banned away by the Slugs.
I'm assuming you want a Renekton here. That's why you're banning the Aatrox and the Jax. You've got to prioritize that. Even if you take the Vladimir, it's not worth it. And again, Casimir still has the option of Kale, Nasus. No, they went with the Vladimir. So Slugs are being set up. And don't forget, Dash Zero is willing to blind the K'Sante. He can blind the Renekton.
Yeah, this is... I'm just... Oh boy. This Drexel Dragons, they're taking a little bit of a leap. And granted, this is a best of 3. Keep that in mind. Oh my god. Ooh. Yes. Yes, I love this. I haven't seen a Malzahar in ages. Now, I understand Malzahar can be good. This is a pure, I'm going to set up the rest of the team. That is what I'm hearing with this pick.
And still no Renekton overall, as we see the Jhin being locked through as well. What? And you can tell that Slugs have something prepared, right? They're using Malzahar because the Malefic Vision still cuts through even in the Sanguine Pool state. It's very easy to apply Morellos and keep the healing debuff onto the Vladimir. This is obviously a very well-researched answer from Hog, something he knows how to play. He plays a lot of Vladimir himself. The Jin as well, I like the idea. You're not very... you don't have to be very short range. You don't have to walk into range of Vladimir. You can play very, very far back, and Vladimir needs to get into a fight.
Oh, well, that's a way to bring the fight to you. You bring the Vi and the Orange, so already a hard shift, it feels like. From what Drexel Dragons wanted to do before, this is like the engage tools. You go ahead, bring like 4 hammers down as hard as possible, and maybe a Forge Hammer as well. There's a Renekton you mentioned, RMC. It dropped down to R3, still within first rotation.
Yeah, and I'm just really, really surprised that Drexel Dragons didn't bother prioritizing that. Now, Renekton into Ornn is actually not that favorable for Renekton in the laning phase necessarily. Yes, he can still get a lot of pressure, but Ornn is one of those few tanks, so I'm more than happy to kind of sit there and trade with the Renekton early. So I don't hate the call from Drexel, and they needed some form of engage. Now, I do need to see more damage, I feel like, especially physical damage come through from them, and it's got to be down to Inori B to make that happen. For the Slugs, on the other hand, I kind of want to see a Braum. If you can nullify the engage coming through from the Ornn, Vi engage is nowhere even close to being as effective, especially if you've got something like Malzahar, whose Spell Shield can negate the Vi ultimate.
Well, if you can't negate it, because I feel Drexel may be in the same vein as you. If they ban out the Braum here, it's like they read our minds. But the Zeri and the Draven, both banned away, very important to note. Those are, I believe, the same bans, or very close to the same bans as before. Slug still aiming towards that ADC. Not the Braum, though. They banned out the Rels, saying there needed to be more engaged tools. So they banned away to high prio support jump ins, but this is where it could be. This is where that Braum could come out, and I wonder if Slugs are going to hold that to R5 and say, no way. Okay, this is pure annoyance, by the way. Slugs are drafting like pure annoyance right now.
Yeah, so Braum would have been sort of the AoE counter to the Ornn. Yes. Morgana is the single target counter, right? Now you've got Black Shield, and regardless who Vi wants to go in on, this is more of a gigantic, like, I hate you, Lithuania sort of situation. Yeah. Because now Vi doesn't have a good target to go onto. And Jin Morgana in lane. It's not a duel we see very often, but it can be very annoying and oppressive as well. If you can land buying, you can punish. Now, overall, you're saying the bans from the side of Slugs, very similar to last game. The difference is, instead of the Draven, it was a Jinx last game, and I would have preferred the Jinx. I think Draven you can deal with. Jinx, though, pairs with the skilling from Drexel really, really well. The Dragons have a terrifying late game composition.
I love the fact that this Senna being locked in now means that's a Morgana jungle, most likely, and I'm just... I don't like seeing that at all. Like, I understand that was probably set up, but I'm like, I don't like it. Senna and Jin in the bot side, still very annoying, still very punishing, but the Sisters of Arcane now being brought to the front line saying, let's go ahead, battle it out, and Drexel Dragons, this is their last chance.
It's Dunk Squad with Morgana jungle, so it's not even...
Yeah, I said that! I said that!
You did it! I don't know how I feel about this.
I'm not gonna lie,
I'm toxic now.
I thought RMC knew that, by the way. When we saw the Senna locked in, I hope you know, RMC, there's 30 seconds to respawn for a minion. It took 30 seconds for RMC's mind to figure out that was a Morgana jungle. That is the best thing.
I was just so fixated on Morgana support, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Yeah, this is a better configuration of it. That bot side is going to be hyper toxic. Again, the poke from Senna is still going to be very, very strong as well.
Yes.
And with the healing and regeneration, you're going to be able to match what the Seraphine wants to do. Senna with the infinite technical skilling, that part of it did get nerfed a little bit, so she doesn't scale quite as quickly as she used to, but it's still really, really strong. I'm still looking at the Slugs, though, to try and dominate the early to mid phases of the game. If it goes late, my concern with them is how are you going to deal with the Jinx? She does outrange most of the champions. Eventually, Senna might outrange her, but that's going to be very, very much later into the game. Vladimir skills, Ornn skills as well. So for the Dragons, it's a lot about just surviving the early and mid game.
Which is something that they didn't have to worry about last time. This time around, you can basically go net even, and you really hope a 800 gold lead doesn't abound from early game. Once again, I want to point that out. Slugs in this game number 2, they already have game 1 under the belt, and they took it off game number 1 off of an early lead in gold. Quite literally, it was just CS differentials as well as a tower play. That's all they had, and they had an 800 gold lead. That might not seem like a lot, but it's enough to give a small edge if you get some of those small components in. You know, that's like long sword in there or something of the sort. So I wonder if that's going to happen again. I'm very, very curious. So, like, this early game where we are seeing both junglers start on the bottom side once again, I'm curious how it's going to shake out.
Yeah, and with Morgana, at least in the past, I've not seen Morgana jungle too recently, so correct me if I'm wrong, but she used to be a very fast jungle clear. I know they did nerf that aspect. I still expect to see her kind of power farm for the most part, and if anything, just try and answer Vi ganks. The Black Shield is just obnoxious right from the get-go, and it will nullify a lot of Vi ganks trying to come through. Meanwhile, I'm actually very curious about the laning states, especially in the mid lane. Malzahar into Vladimir, it's a lot about timing and chicken. Like, the Malefic Visions goes through even the Sanguine Pool, but you've got to be careful how you use the Voidlings. If you use them too early, Vladimir just farms them and clears them. And the Voidlings are actually a pretty decent chunk of Malzahar's consistent damage when you're trying to run people down.
Well, unfortunately, it's got to bounce to actually do damage. Casimir's like, ha! Not the first tick of damage. However, Dash Zero does what they did before, but at a much earlier state of game, drops a ward all the way in the far side, identifying that Lithuania should be headed over there shortly, and ensuring that their laning phase should go a lot smoother if they wish to push.
And with the pressure that Dash Zero is already getting on that top side, if they're able and wanting to invade, you know, it is an option as well. Unfortunately, Dunk Squad, I mentioned before, the Morgana clear speed did get a little bit nerfed, is not in position right now to actually go in and counter invade, or else it's a viable option. That Black Shield, like I said, really negates and nullifies a lot of what Vi wants to do early on.
It's just one of those that almost comes into that that skill identification. Are you able to identify, you know, when an opponent is going to come into that lane? Are they going to have that dance? Dash Zero taking a tower shot as Sarticle is able to buffer that out. But Dunk Squad is actually the first to meet for this scuttle. And it looks like it's actually a push in because you got the ward down. I didn't even notice this. Lithuania in a little bit of a dangerous spot. That's going to be a binding. And you still get it. Dunk Squad still got the camp.
Without the smite as well, Lithuania. Oh man, that was so close. I thought Lithuania was just going to smite the moment the pool dropped, the Tormented Soil appeared. Unfortunately not, and Dunk Squad going to be able to pick up the vision on that top side. Good response from Lithuania to make sure that the Dragons don't lose double crowd.
And I think that also has a twofold piece because this is going to be that catch threat, but Inori B eating a lot of damage with that forced shot and now trying to round it back. But Banana Nation is like, I got the cloak, you don't get that for free, and that's just raw damage that's thrown down. Huge minion wave on the bot side in favor of Serpent Shadow on Banana Nation as well.
Clutch time in on Shin to run back into lane right at that moment any longer, and I think Serpent Shadow and Banana Nation just runs down and actually tries to kill Inori B. But because of that, Cleanse is being held. Serpent Shadow?
This is actually dangerous. I'm not sure why Serpent decided to step up, but able to keep the barrier. That is some understanding of how much damage can come out. However, that does mean this is very scary, but it might be a setup. Remember, this is how Dunk Squad got ahead last time. There is Flash and Cleanse. Heal is being used by Shin and Nori B trying to step up. No mana, though, so this is going to be dangerous. A huge root from the back end. That is going to be the Cleanse to come out here. But another root under tower. You are safe, though. So Dunk Squad and Banana Nations, they are able to force 2 of the 4 summoners here on the bot side.
I don't know how these AD carries are doing it overall. I am clenched up right now watching these trades, and both of them held their nerves so incredibly long. Like you said, barrier not used by Serpent Shadow. Inori holding Cleanse on the initial 2v1 catch meant that he had it for the more critical gag. Now Shin lands it, the bait.
Oh, that's gonna be a flash in as well, and that's a rocketing little bomb. However, Lithuania is coming around the side, flashes out from under the tower because guess what? Dunk Squad flashed in. ADCs take each other out, but most notably that is first blood to Inori B.
Junglers trading their flashes as well, and thankfully for the side of Slugs, at least Banana Nation is on sort of a marksman, so the gold still goes to good effect. But you're right, the scary part is Inori B. The player we were talking about in the break for Drexel Dragons, this is the guy who oftentimes is a big carry, is a big pressure point. And the scariest part of Inori B getting these early kills as well is that not only is he accelerated, but he's going to buy more space for Casimir to scale, for Sarnicle to scale. And Sarnicle doesn't need gold. Sarnicle just needs levels to get Masterworks.
I mean, you're just riding the orange train. That's all you're really doing, right?
Sure.
At the end of the day, it's just like you don't need to build the rails. You don't have to sink your own money into it. You just need to get to the next destination, which is the next level. In the mid lane, we're watching this push come out as Hog going with that summon area. By the way, still so frustrating. Casimir is like, bro, like, please stop. Like, that's all you want to do. Casimir even got the Lucidity Boots, as many people do know. You're just trying to spam that Q to stay alive.
Yeah, just try and sustain as much as possible. Hog is level 6. Do watch out for that Nether's Grasp, because trying to Sanguine Pool gets kind of iffy with that. Lithuania getting pushed out his own jungle again.
remember, this is only level 6, level 5, and that's because you don't have that level 6. You missed one of the camps, and so Dash Zero getting rocked up and down, but Banana Nations, the Dunk Squad are over the wall. Dash Zero is able to get away, but Kashmir, you don't really have that much HP, so I don't know second round is going to be good. Dunk Squad also level 5, but has to flash away, and Hog is about to route them. Oh, here's a problem. There's a gate to silence you. That's a flash forward. Fighting misses, but it doesn't matter because the visions bring death.
That's the grasp we were talking about. It's point and click. There's no time for you to deal with it.
Oh my God,
still
do
trying
it.
To base
Oh, do it. No! I was hoping, RMC.
They can still dive. Sarnical is less than half health right now. Dash Zero with that push. Yep, they know it.
Well, the wave's gonna take about 5 seconds. Sarnicle's like, please just let me get one item. Maybe I can live with one more item. You're not gonna live this one. Dash Zero, given the black shield, there is gonna be no stopping this. Binding even lands. It's gonna be a knock-up underneath, and that's gonna be finished off. Dunk Squad with the auto brings another kill, so Slugs get 3. 2
in my head
total.
cannon. That wasn't an auto. That was Faded Ashes plus Aerie. That's my head cannon for Dunk Squad right now. Dunk Squad 2-0 on the Morgana. We saw it last game with the Gwen, and with the Gwen, she's a hyper carry. Get her a couple of kills, she takes over a game. Morgana isn't quite the same. She's more of a utility pick. She's more about the support. But part of me just feels like Dunk Squad is going to make things happen. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this Morgana to see what he can have, what he can accelerate, and once again, look at that gold differential. The biggest gold differential once again in the jungle role, up by almost 1,000.
I mean, every other role as well, except for ADC, is up also 400. So that's why we are seeing this expand to 1.4 between all the teams here. I really like this though. Like you said, it's once again Dunk Squad probably going to make stuff happen, and that to me is going to come with binding from the Fog of War. I expect to see multiple extra wars being thrown down just to try and keep track of Dunk Squad, just like the Slugs are doing to Lithuania. Lithuania is still only level 5, waiting to hit that cease and desist. But I have a feeling Lithuania is not going to have freedom to be able to find those ults as easily because the tracking from Slugs has been so good.
Now, here's the thing. There is a lane that Lithuania can look at, and it's not the mid lane, because Melzahar shields are an annoyance. He's tried in the top lane, and it doesn't work against Dash Hero, but Riot literally made 2 series about it. Go gank Jinx in the bot lane. Jin and Senna are vulnerable. They're so squishy, and if you can get Inori to snowball even harder, it doesn't matter that Casimir got set behind. It doesn't matter if Sarnical gets ganked and killed a couple more times. It's all about that Jinx. It's all about powder.
You gotta pull the lottery ticket as well. Sometimes you get it, and the lottery on the top side might be there. Sarnical being able to drop Dash Zero quite low, but not willing to invest the Ornhorn in. It says a lot. Dash Zero still commanding a lot of respect here on the top side.
Dominus still ready and waiting to be popped as well, so it gets a little bit dicey if Sarnical can actually get enough damage to kill him before the regen kicks back up. Top side, as you mentioned, still lit up like a Christmas tree right now. Lithuania on this top side, and for Dash Zero, I expect to see Dash Zero start playing a bit more conservatively once we see Lithuania start looking to come out of the jungle.
I like this as well. With everything kind of turning into a little bit of a stall, it really brings to light that factor of we got hyper carries in this game. And we want the hyper carries to get hyper at some point. Of course, on the bot side, though, the Chompers are going to throw down some damage. Serpent Shadow eating about 60% of their HP. That one's going to hurt a bit, but Noribi, once again, just making sure to farm up this entire game.
And it's not just the farming, it's the trading as well. And Noribi, great micro sidesteps. So he's never burning the summoners, but Serpent Shadow is not able to trade back, and Serpent Shadow is eating so much damage. Shin as well getting some great CC. It's not just hard CC with the beat drop, just even getting the slow is enough for them to be able to start winning out these 2v2 trades.
Well, topside, we're seeing that difference here. Sarnical has no flash, which means this is pretty much death in a bucket. Binding from downtown lands, and it's an easy cleanup. Oh, Sarnical being shown the cry from the Jinx that is somehow in topside.
Hey, give credit to Dunk Squad. He deserves to be able to do that. That binding was spot on. Didn't miss a beat. Now, Lithuania, as you mentioned, Vi on the top side, unfortunately doesn't even get a front row seat to watching the second set of grubs go down to the Slugs. And it feels like Orbital, despite all the changes in the draft, despite the changes in the champion, the gameplay so far has been remarkably similar to game 1. It is 2 sets of grubs traded for that dragon. It is the Slugs with advantages in multiple lanes. As you mentioned before, the only difference is on this bot side, but is it enough to change the fate of this game?
Honestly, I feel like that all rests on Casimir. Last time, Casimir was the one that could have changed their fate. So this time around, you're just going to try and bleed him to death with the Hemo playing and then some, but also on a signature pick. And to me, that's where I'm really going to be looking towards that mid to late game. I mean, we're still in laning phase, but the tower is getting chewed up. So maybe I spoke a little bit too soon. Hog able to grab 3 plates, whereas before they could only get like 1.
Yeah, unfortunately, Vladimir's wave clear is very, very weak for a while there with the Sanguine Pool and the healing, especially in the top lane. He was really able to abuse that. Dastero, no dominance this time.
Oh no, and maybe that might be the chance, but you do have a flash to get out, so Sarnicle isn't really going to have that chase potential.
Not even close. This combo's not coming through. Dastero, though.
Well, we say that, and then there's a chase threat right now. That's going to be a dash forward. Dash also dashes out. And now we get a look at the bot side, as this is a Nori B getting caught out here. That's going to be the Donnie Shadow cresting overall. And Duxon's coming from the side. Remember, keep in mind of the bindings, but that is going to be the encore. Flash out on both, and Shin was actually trying to flash in front of the Dark Binding, but that actually leaves Shin in a dangerous spot. But the Rocket is going to do enough damage. Serpent Shadow able to pick up 1. Lithuania coming in to help out with the barrier. It's going to keep you alive for a little bit longer. Another Binding under the tower, but it's in range for the auto attacks in the DP. Yes, Dunk Squad gets the burn with the Black Fire Torch, and now Nori B has to run for inner.
The Norby getting excited, but it has to run away with it. Dunk Squad just looking to even land the Tormented Soul. The minions blocking right now, will not be able to land, but the longer the chase, the slower the recall from Nori B coming through an orbital. We asked, is this bot lane, is the difference enough for Drexel Dragons to change their fate? So far, the answer is no. It is the Slugs correctly identifying, hey, our one losing lane, let's get there first. And we called for Vi to back up her sister. But it's Dunk Squad backing up his brothers in the bot lane.
Honestly, I'd also like to point out that is one of the rare instances where attempting to save your ADC feels like it went wrong. Shin flashing in front to try and deny the Dark Binding. I feel like Dunk Squad kind of knew that was going to happen as well. And I'm kind of curious because we saw Dunk Squad jump forward, didn't throw the Dark Binding at all, trying to get in range of just throwing down the W. So these little mind games that may or may not be coming out with this jungle Morgana will be very interesting to watch further.
Well, and Nori B had such a good handle on himself. His mechanical control over his champion has been spot on. So he dodged out the Dark Binding, no problem. He didn't need anybody to throw themselves in the way. I'll be honest, I think Shin was kind of shafted either way because of the way the Dark Bind, or not the Dark Binding, but the Soul Shackles was being used already, and that was really what got Shin in trouble. Once the slow came through, it was so much easier for Banana Nations to kind of follow up and make sure that Shin couldn't get away. Herald just spawned as we saw Dragon and mid outer turret go down right now. Slugs want this Herald.
Well, Dash Zero once again sidestepping like it's nobody's business, and that is the most frustrating. That is now like the 3rd or 4th time Dash Zero has done that in this series, just not even worried about any sort of gank that goes by, which means Dunk Squad and Banana Nations get a freebie in clearing out these wards, especially with the upcoming Ocean Soul. You get so many wards down, you keep the field dark, and Drexel Dragons can't challenge for this Rift Herald.
Yeah, and critically, Sarnicle used the Call of Forge God as well, and didn't quite find anything, knocked up Dunk Squad when the rest of the team wasn't able to follow up. That means the Dragons can't look for any sort of play top right now. They lose on the Ultimate War. Dastero still has his dominance ready to go, and Slugs, yeah, they're ready to pop right now with that Herald into a side lane. That should guarantee a turret to boot.
I mean, this is... Slugs are showing why they are the first seed coming out here. They are the first seed rolling in from their division and saying, hey, anyone confident to go up on against us? You shouldn't be. You should be worried. That's what we want to hear. For the Slugs, it's just this, it's not slow. It's just this domineering factor of you're feeling like you get choked out. And it is rare to me to see that. Consider what we saw in Game 1. Game 1 was frenetic action. It felt like every single minute to 2 minutes, there was a fight going on. There was someone dying. There was someone getting ganked. This time around, Slugs are slowly taking over. First the top side tower, first brick. Mid tower might go down soon, but the jungle being overrun by Slugs as they collect these buffs.
Well, Orbital, you might not like it, but this is what peak evolution looks like. Just saying. Dragons didn't survive the fantastical evolution of fantasy, but Slugs are still around in the real world.
What was it? Like like the ultimate life form is a crab at the end of the day or something like that? That was the wildest theory I'd ever heard.
After watching tonight, if you tell me a Slug's the ultimate evolution.
True. At the end of the day, I'm terrified. You can see the goal differences right now. Every single lane experiencing at least a component difference. right now in favor of the Slugs. Even for the likes of Serpent, who has been able to catch up and now eclipse Inori B. That's a terrifying thought process right now. This gold lead that is now expanded into about 6K and one of the quietest increases that we've seen all series long. They are just slowly chewing through these towers with the excess of the Voidlings. Dash Zero even on the top side, once again getting jumped on, now knocked up, but with the Dawning Shadow across, gets extra HP, and in the first real fist fight, is going to slice up Lithuania. Lithuania can't stay. Sarticle misses the Ornhorn again. Now Inori B is rocking in, but Dash Zero's like, okay, 1v3, it doesn't matter. I still have Flash. He hasn't used a Summer Spell, and because of that, Slugs get to chew through a second tower.
And unfortunately for the train conductor, the train was late. And Noribi comes in, and there's just no CC to help him actually run down the Renekton. And now Noribi has to leave the top lane, has to back up somewhere else, and that's leaving Dash Zero this time, this pressure on the top side, to just continue sitting here.
This is beyond exceptional in my field of vision. Inori B dancing just out of range, but remember, the kills are not the main threat here. This is just how many towers can we chew through. Banana Nation's finally getting jumped on here. That's gonna be the first kill. However, in Serpent Shadow might get a free kill. Up that Zero comes in from the side. Yo, what's up? Nethergrass brings the second encore, lands all the way in the back line, but Inori B flashing to try and get excited. Another challenge goes up, and Serpent Shadow is going to jump forward, annihilate the likes of Drexel Dragons, as the Dragons bring one final sputter, give a triple to Serpent, and it's an ace for the Slugs.
And the Slugs, zero hesitation, just jump right into the Dragons, burning flashes aggressively to make things happen. Serpent Shadow finally getting his revenge onto Noribi. You can duck, you can dodge, but you can't avoid a right click when it gets flashed into. And with that, the Slugs are busting open the map. Keep in mind as well, bro, they took down all the outers without Herald. I don't even know where Herald ended up actually going at the end of the day. I don't know if it just expired in inventory.
It was a mid.
Was it mid? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic use. Serpent Shadow? He's gonna win.
It doesn't matter. Serpent's actually okay, by the way. That is... Lithuania got bopped for stopping a recall. That's what happened.
Jeez, that's painful. And with Dragon coming up in 15 seconds as well, Lithuania is not gonna be there in time. By the time he gets there, the Dragon will be almost done. If you're walking, if you die, you have an exposed inhibitor in the mid lane at pre-20 minutes. That could spell a game if you mess up.
If this is not the look of desperation, I don't know what is. Drexel fully overextended for that mid lane fight. They knew they were getting choked out. By the way, that was about 4 towers in a row taken by Slugs before that fight broke out. You knew Drexel, they had to make a play somewhere. I appreciate they tried, but now it has opened up the doors of the dam to allow this flood. Ocean Dragon, gold, economy, items now flooding into the Slugs' pocket. As another tether goes down, and Nori B now going to get the curtain call on their heads, which I feel like this is the first curtain call we've seen all game, by the way. A final shot brings Shin down to about 200 HP.
That was so incredibly close, and that means Shin taking the long way home right now with an exposed inhibitor. Nori.
Oh my god. That is the rudest move ever. Dunk Squad, the sub coming in here saying, I still got the moves. Casimir flashing away inside of the pool. My god, that was a rude walk.
I love it. It reminds me of like a Blitzcrank just walks at you and you try to dodge out on the hook and it just never comes out because he doesn't need it. Dunk Squad, you can see Nori be like ducking and moving, serpentine, try and dodge everything. Well, Soul Shackles comes out and what you can do, that's a, I just press R, you're in range, you're slowed, and finish it off with the binding to boot. And we said it before, anybody gets caught from the Dragons right now, you've got problems. Inhibitor goes down, Baron goes down. Do the Slugs need Baron? No. But it's certainly going to accelerate the pace of the game.
You never need something when you're this far ahead, by the way. It's just insult to injury. 13,000 gold. 12.7 if you want to get specific. Drexel Dragons? Drexel Dragons are the ones that are like, we're Dragons. We're supposed to have the Horde of Gold. Why do you have our stuff?
Because Dragons get slain for gold orbital, and that's what we've seen all game long. 13 kills to 4. And look, for Drexel Dragons, Inori B has still been playing fantastically. His mechanics and positioning has been on point. He's been dodging out pretty much every skill shot he can. But the problem is, his team as a whole is too far behind. He needs time to scale back up, and the Slugs just aren't giving the Dragons any space, any time to actually look for that late game.
I am just overwhelmed by this strength right now. Dash Zero is once again being this giant
goodness.
pain in the bottom. And at this point, if we're watching Dash Zero draw at least 2 members away, you have to look at the minimap. You have to look at other locations because guess what's happening? A 3-lane push going down here. As that's a curtain call from mid to bot. That is the wildest curtain call I've ever seen. Serpent Shadow now getting jumped on as that's going to be the season desist. But Serpent Shadow is still unstoppable. He's still alive. That is going to be a triple once again as Serpent Shadow lays down the pain. This is the masked singer himself. The opera will sing their praises. Casimir can do nothing. It's an ace for UCSC Black, and the Slugs will cement themselves in the winner's side semifinals.
What? I'm just shocked, bro. I know we said 1300, pardon me, gold advantage. We were talking about how far ahead the Slugs were, but the ending still caught me off guard. How quick it was, and I love the decisiveness of the team. Dash Zero with that beautiful turn on the bot side, pressuring the moment they realize, wait, they're overextended. We can start looking for the picks. Like you said, the curtain call to try and find that pick onto Shin. But what shocks me, and I'm still trying to process this, is how quickly Sarnico melted to the Jin. Jin is not supposed to be a tank buster. Sarnico went faster than a bullet train when he finally got turned around on. He just vanished just like that. Like, and once your tank is down, it's so hard for the Dragons to be able to play out the rest of the fight. So, yeah, I'm in shock. Thankfully, the playoff bracket is double Elam, so Drexel Dragons aren't out of it yet. They still are able to play through, but it is definitely a bit of a shocker, and the Slugs are looking absolutely menacing right now.
I'm sitting there going, that is with a sub. By the way, huge props to
True.
Dunk Squad. I mean, Black Shields on that game 2, the scissor snipping in game 1, the entire team propping them up, and this time around taking a backseat, even though that they were unkillable. I would like to point that out. Dunk Squad didn't die that entire game, unkillable through the whole way, but the rest of the team being highlighted in that. Serpent Shadow now putting themselves in the spotlight saying, I am a carry if you give me the resources. I'm scared. Like, this is a squad that literally had to field a couple subs, and they're now rocking, and they're saying, we might be able to field our main roster next week. Like, what is that going to look like?
Yeah, hey, maybe Dunk Squad might become the new starter with this performance tonight. I think he certainly would deserve it. And it was also, in a way, a very cerebral performance that came through from UCSC Slugs. Especially in Game 2, Dunk Squad knew what the job was, to absolutely nullify the jungler. A lot of Drexel Dragons, we talk about how strong their bot lane is and how they can find laning advantages, but the engine of the team is Lithuania, right? A lot of times, like when Anoribi gets the lead to leverage it, they need Lithuania to find the engages. And we never saw that come through. It wasn't for lack of trying. Lithuania was looking for action, but just with the amount of shielding, the Black Shields, how overextended. It wasn't just the Black Shields either. It was the threat of Dunk Squad cutting off the rest of the team. They couldn't walk past him. He just stood there with the soul shackles and went, okay, you're coming at me? Sure. There's a line in the sand. You shall not pass. And he's just able to do that every single time in every single fight. So huge play from the Slugs to be able to just cut off Lithuania. They obviously prepped the team, they studied the team, and they knew how to execute.
For the side of Drexel Dragons, though, I mean, the legends of myths exist for a reason. Dragons will always be around, and they're hoping to rise up in the lower bracket. But this match, I think, exposed a lot of their weaknesses, you know, just kind of overwhelming presence in the laning phase that they may not be able to compete with. If you were taking a look at the squad and you said you had to change one thing for them, what would you hope to see change from this match going into the lower bracket possible run?
I think I'd like to see somebody else who's able to step up when Lithuania is being stifled. We didn't see anybody else who could really kick the action off when Casimir was strong, when Inoribi was strong in some phases of the game, in game 1 as well. Lithuania wasn't able to kick things off, and when he couldn't kick things off, it just didn't feel like they had a secondary goal button to really look at. I think Sarnico tried a little bit in this game too, but maybe if they could either get him a little bit more consistent, or maybe get Shin to be able to connect to Lithuania, it would help the early game a lot more for Drexel Dragons.
All right, well, there you go. For the Drexel Dragons, they're going to be hoping to go back to the drawing board and make their way through the lower bracket. But for the Slugs, they came to play, and they slugged it out in the West playoffs right now, moving up into the winter semifinals. And I'm curious to see how well this squad will continue to progress throughout the rest of the tournament. But of course, here tonight, that is going to be the end of the series. The NECC is done with League of Legends for the evening. However, there's so much more to go on. As we mentioned all the way at the beginning of the stream, there's a G Fuel giveaway. I believe it is still going on for a little bit longer, so please, if you are one of the winners selected, which I believe they'll be reaching out in the chat, go ahead and enter in for your prize. I do apologize. These games are so amazing to watch that my mind was solely there. But if you're one of the winners, go ahead and fill out the form that will be sent to your DMs and go ahead and claim your prize. I wonder as well, I have a feeling that there might be some in the future as well, so make sure to stay tuned to the rest of the NECC broadcast. There's more action on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday across multiple other titles. There's Overwatch, there's Rocket League, I believe there's even R6 as well. There's so many other games. Please go ahead, check it out. Make sure to keep up on the socials to keep eyes on when those matches will occur. But of course, for tonight, we are done. My name is Ordo. With me has been Random Minion Cast. Of course, on our production has been Caddy and Chippy. We thank you all for tuning in and have a fantastic night.
Oh man, this is incredible.
Oh, wow.
Huh?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Hey man, grab me a meat stick.
I think I can reach it if I just a little more. Just let me go a little. I can't. Just a little more. I almost got it. Careful! Oh God! No, come on, just reach. Just grab my hand. Grab my hand.
Give me the meat stick. This other hand's closer. The one with the stick is. Oh.
What am I supposed to say?
It doesn't matter. He's dead. He ain't listening to you anyway.
I'm hungry.
No. Put it away.